How do you take control of your mind and use it to your advantage? It all starts with understanding that your thoughts and habits shape your reality. If you can master your mind, you can master your life. In this video, we are going to break down exactly how you can do that. We are not talking about theory or complicated ideas here. This is about real practical advice that you can apply right now. I'm going to show you how to shift your mindset, build habits that work for you and stay focused on the things that matter, whether you are dealing with stress, feeling stuck, or simply want to perform better. The tools I'll share with you are designed to help you take control. The truth is, the way you think directly influences your actions. If you want to create lasting change in your life, whether it's reaching your goals, improving your relationships, or just feeling better day to day, you need to start with your mind. But don't worry, it's not as hard as it sounds. It's about consistency, discipline, and a few simple adjustments that make all the difference. Stick around and you'll learn how to stop letting your thoughts control you and start using them to create the life you want. Chapter 1: The Key to Your Mind, Understanding Its Power. The mind is the most powerful tool you'll ever have. It's not just a part of you. It is asterisk. You asterisk everything you are, everything you do, every success and every failure starts with your mind. How you think, how you view the world, and how you respond to situations are all determined by the way you train your mind. So if you want to control your life, the first thing you need to control is your mind. Think about this for a moment. What if you could control your thoughts? What if you could choose how you react to any situation, any emotion, any challenge? Imagine the freedom that would bring. Imagine how much power you would have. That's what happens when you learn how to master your mind. You stop being a slave to your circumstances, to your emotions, to your automatic reactions, and you become the creator of your reality. It might sound like a big claim, but I promise you this is the key to personal growth and success. When you understand the power of your mind, everything changes. The first step to mastering your life is to understand that the mind isn't just something that happens to you. You don't just have thoughts, you control them. You have the power to choose your thoughts, your focus, and your responses. Once you truly grasp this, you unlock the door to endless possibilities. Now, let's talk about how you can start understanding and controlling your mind. It starts with one simple truth. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. This idea isn't new. Philosophers, thinkers, and spiritual teachers throughout history have known it, and now it's time for you to understand it deeply. Every thought you have is like a seed being planted in your mind's garden. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity, that's what will grow. But if you plant seeds of confidence, hope, and positivity, that's what will grow. Instead, the garden of your mind is fertile ground, but it needs care. If you don't tend to it, weeds will start growing, weeds of self-doubt, fear, and insecurity, and once those weeds take root, it becomes much harder to cultivate the garden you truly want. But here's the good news. You have the power to choose what you plant. You can choose what you focus on, what you let into your mind, and what you allow to grow. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that their thoughts are simply things that happen to them, but that's not true. Your thoughts are not random. They're a product of what you've been exposed to, what you've allowed into your mind, and most importantly, what you've chosen to believe. If you've been filling your mind with negative influences, if you've been surrounded by people who think small or live in fear, that's what your mind will reflect, but that's not the only option. If you want to change your life, you need to change your thinking, and to change your thinking, you need to be mindful of what you allow into your mind. You have to protect it like a precious garden. Every piece of media you consume, Every conversation you engage in and every thought you entertain plants a seed in your mind. If you want your mind to grow into a powerful, disciplined and focused machine, you need to start being selective about what you let in, but it doesn't stop there. The power of your mind is more than just your thoughts. It's also your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your reality. If you believe that you are not good enough, that you'll never succeed, or that life is out to get you, guess what, you are right. But if you believe that you can improve, that you have the strength to overcome obstacles, and that the world is full of opportunities for you, you'll start seeing the evidence of that belief everywhere. It's not magic, it's science. Your brain works by reinforcing the beliefs you hold. The more you think something, the more you believe it, and the more you believe it, the more it becomes true. That's why it's so important to challenge your limiting beliefs and replace them with empowering ones. Your beliefs are like the filter through which you see the world. If your filter is cloudy with negativity and doubt, you'll only see obstacles and reasons why things won't work. But if your filter is clear, full of confidence and possibility, you'll start to see opportunities everywhere. Now, I want you to think about your daily routine. What do you spend most of your time thinking about? What do you focus on? Your mind will follow your focus. If you spend all day focusing on the things that stress you out, the things you can't control and the problems in your life, that's what your mind will keep returning to. But if you start focusing on solutions, on what you can control and on what you are grateful for, your mind will start to shift. One of the best ways to begin taking control of your mind is to be intentional about where you direct your focus. It's not enough to just avoid negative thoughts. You need to actively choose what you want to think about. What is the vision for your life? What are your goals? What kind of person do you want to become? Make that the focal point of your thoughts. Every time your mind starts to drift into negativity, redirect it. Remind yourself of your goals, of the bigger picture, and of what you are working toward. Your mind will try to take the easy route. It'll tell you that focusing on your problems is easier than focusing on your goals. It'll try to convince you that staying in your comfort zone is safer than stepping out and taking risks. But here's the truth, nothing will ever change unless you make the decision to change your thinking. First, if you want a different life, you have to think differently. I'm not saying this is easy, it's not, but it is simple. It's a process that starts with awareness. Once you become aware of the way your mind works, once you realize that you are not a victim to your thoughts but the creator of them, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can start shifting your mindset. This awareness alone gives you the power to take control. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require you to completely overhaul your life overnight. Small changes day by day are all it takes. Start with one thought, one belief, one habit. Every time you shift your thinking, you strengthen your ability to control your mind. Over time, these small shifts add up to massive transformation. So if you want to change your life, start with your mind. Understand that your mind is not some uncontrollable force working against you. It's the most powerful tool at your disposal, and once you realize that you have the ability to control it, you realize that you have the power to control everything else. The journey toward mastering your mind begins with a single step, the realization that you are in control. It's time to stop being a passenger in your life and take the wheel. Your mind is the key to everything you want. The only question is, what are you going to do with it? Chapter 2, Awareness, the Path to Mastery. Have you ever noticed how often we get caught up in the noise of life, the constant buzz of information, the distractions, the worries, and the stresses that seem to come at us from all directions? It's like we're living in a storm of thoughts, emotions, and external forces that make it almost impossible to hear ourselves think. In the middle of all this chaos, it can feel overwhelming just trying to make sense of what's really going on inside of us, but there's a truth that once you grasp it, can help you find clarity in all the noise. Awareness is the key to mastery. When we talk about mastering your mind, it starts with awareness. Think about it like this. Before you can fix anything, you need to know it's broken. Before you can change anything, you need to see where you are and what's actually happening in your mind. Without awareness, you are like a ship sailing aimlessly in the dark at the mercy of the tides, but with awareness, you gain the power to steer that ship in the direction you want it to go. Awareness is your compass. It helps you understand where you are and where you are headed. The challenge is that most of us are so used to living on autopilot. We react to things without thinking. We let our emotions take control. We follow the paths that others have laid out for us without even realizing we have other options. We go through the motions of life day after day without ever truly checking in with ourselves. But when you start becoming aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, you start to see things clearly. You begin to realize that most of your reactions are automatic and that your true power lies in the ability to choose differently. Being aware doesn't mean just noticing the big things, the obvious stuff like when you are angry or when you are stressed. It's about paying attention to the little things too, the subtle thoughts that pop into your mind throughout the day, the way you feel when you walk into a room, the automatic judgments you make about people, situations, or even yourself. Awareness means shining a light on all of it, and that's where real change begins. Think about the last time you felt anxious. What was going through your mind? What were you focusing on? It's easy to get lost in the feelings, but if you take a moment to step back and simply observe, you'll start to notice patterns. You'll realize that your mind is always working, constantly trying to make sense of things, sometimes pulling you in 100 different directions. The goal isn't to stop thinking, that's impossible. The goal is to recognize that your thoughts are not you. They are just thoughts. They come and go, and you get to choose whether or not to entertain them. This is the foundation of awareness, understanding that your thoughts and emotions are not fixed parts of you, they're temporary. They're like clouds drifting through the sky. You are the sky, the space that allows those clouds to pass through without being swept away by them. This simple shift in perspective can change everything. You stop being at the mercy of your emotions and instead you begin to observe them. When you become aware of your thoughts and feelings, you create space between who you are and what you are experiencing. That space gives you the power to choose your response rather than just reacting. Now, I know that sounds easy in theory, but let's talk about how this plays out in the real world. It's one thing to say you need to be aware of your thoughts, but it's another thing to actually practice it, especially when life gets messy. So how do you develop this awareness? How do you begin to notice the thoughts that are running in the background of your mind? It starts with slowing down. We live in a fast-paced world where everything is moving at lightning speed, but in order to master your mind, you need to create moments of stillness. You need to practice getting quiet. It's in those moments of stillness that you can start to hear your thoughts clearly. One of the most effective ways to develop awareness is through mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply the practice of being present in the moment, fully aware of what's happening around you and inside you. It's about taking a step back and observing your thoughts, your feelings, and your body without judgment. This practice doesn't require you to change anything. It just requires you to notice. You can start by taking just a few minutes each day to sit quietly, focus on your breath and check in with your thoughts. Notice what's coming up for you. Are you thinking about the past, the future? Are you feeling tense, relaxed, anxious? Just notice it. Don't try to change it. Just observe. As you do this, you'll start to develop a deeper understanding of your thought patterns. You'll notice the automatic reactions you have to certain situations. You'll start to see the triggers that set off your emotions, and you'll become more aware of the beliefs that drive your behavior. This awareness is the first step toward changing those patterns. When you understand what's happening inside of you, you gain the power to respond with intention instead of reacting out of habit. The power of awareness goes beyond just understanding your thoughts and emotions. It's also about being aware of your actions. You can't change what you don't see, and sometimes our actions can become automatic too. You might find yourself stuck in old habits, doing things without even realizing why you are doing them. When you become aware of your actions, you start to break free from autopilot mode. You can begin to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is this really helping me? Is this the best choice for the person I want to become? Awareness also means being honest with yourself. It's easy to lie to ourselves, to pretend things are fine when they're not, or to ignore the areas where we are struggling, but honesty is a crucial part of awareness. If you want to change, you have to be willing to look at the uncomfortable parts of yourself. You have to be willing to face your weaknesses and your fears, not with judgment, but with understanding. The more honest you are with yourself, the more clarity you gain, and the clearer you are, the easier it is to take control of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. The beauty of awareness is that it gives you the ability to make conscious choices. When you become aware of the thoughts, feelings, and actions that influence your life, you take back the power to choose. Instead of letting life happen to you, you begin to take charge. You start responding with intention, not impulse, and in doing so you create the space for real change to happen. So start small. Take a few minutes each day to check in with yourself. Ask yourself what's going in your mind and in your heart. Notice the patterns, and when you see something you don't like, don't judge it. Just notice it. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Once you see something for what it is, you can begin to change it. Awareness isn't just a one-time thing, it's a practice, something you have to do consistently every day, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes, and eventually it becomes second nature. You'll find yourself living with a new level of clarity, focus, and control. When you master awareness, you unlock the door to true self-mastery, and when you master yourself, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Chapter 3, The Inner Dialogue. How self-talk shapes your world. You are standing in front of a mirror looking at yourself. You see a reflection, but not just in the physical sense. You see the thoughts, the doubts, the beliefs that live within you. It's as if you are seeing a version of yourself that you are not fully aware of, yet you are constantly shaped by it. That reflection is not just the body you carry, but the voice inside your head, the one that constantly talks to you, the one that speaks when you wake up, when you are facing challenges, when you make decisions, and even when you are just sitting quietly. It's your inner dialogue, and whether you know it or not, it's driving so much of what you do and how you feel. Have you ever stopped to really listen to that voice? If you haven't, try it sometime. Take a moment and just listen. What is it saying? Is it encouraging you? Is it telling you you are capable and strong, or is it filled with doubt, criticism, and negativity? For most of us, that inner dialogue isn't always the kindest. It's easy to hear the voice that's quick to criticize or quick to point out what's wrong with us, and when that voice gets loud, it can feel almost impossible to break free from its grip. But here's the thing, your inner dialogue holds immense power. It's not just background noise in your mind. It shapes your reality. The way you speak to yourself, the things you believe about yourself, the thoughts you entertain, all influence how you show up in the world. They determine how you approach life, how you handle setbacks, and how you interact with others. When your inner voice is negative, it holds you back. When it's supportive and positive, it pushes you forward. The truth is your self-talk has been there your whole life, influencing your actions and reactions in ways you might not even be fully aware of. Think about the last time you made a mistake. What did you tell yourself afterward? Did you say, "I messed up, but I'll do better next time"? Or did you say, "I'm an idiot, I always mess things up"? The way you talk to yourself in those moments matters. It's easy to fall into the trap of negative self-talk because it's what we've been conditioned to do. We've all heard it: "You are not good enough, you'll never succeed. This is too hard." It's almost like we have a constant stream of criticism running in the background, but here's the thing: you don't have to keep listening to that voice. You don't have to let it dictate your worth, your potential, or your future. The good news is you can change it. You can rewrite the script. The first step is realizing that you have control over your thoughts. You don't have to be a prisoner to them. The thoughts you entertain, the beliefs you hold, and the way you speak to yourself all come down to one thing: choice. You choose what to focus on, and you choose how to respond to your inner dialogue. When you start to pay attention to the words you use with yourself, you'll begin to notice patterns. Are you constantly putting yourself down? Are you quick to judge yourself? Do you let every mistake define you? Those patterns don't have to be permanent. Just as you have the ability to think negatively, you also have the ability to think positively, to encourage yourself and to believe in your potential. It's about shifting the focus from what you can't do to what you can do. Now let's talk about how to do that. The first step is awareness. Start listening to your inner dialogue. Notice the thoughts that pop up in different situations. Do they support you or hold you back? You might notice that when things get tough, that voice becomes louder, more critical, or when you try something new, you might hear the doubts creeping in. That's normal, but just because that voice is there doesn't mean it has to control you. Once you've started to listen, you can begin to challenge those thoughts. When you hear that voice telling you you are not good enough, ask yourself, is that true? Is there any evidence to support that thought, or is it just an old belief that's been hanging around for too long? Often these negative thoughts are based fears and insecurities that aren't grounded in reality. The more you question them, the less power they have over you. Another powerful tool to change your inner dialogue is to replace negative thoughts with positive affirmations. I know it might sound cliché, but it works. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "I am capable of learning and growing." Instead of "I always mess things up," say, "I am constantly improving." It's not about pretending that everything is perfect, but rather about shifting your mindset from one of defeat to one of possibility. It's also helpful to remember that your inner dialogue doesn't have to be perfect. No one talks to themselves like a motivational speaker every minute of every day, but the more you practice positive self-talk, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll notice that those negative thoughts pop up less often, and when they do, they don't hold as much weight. Your self-talk isn't just about the big moments in life, it's about how you show up in the everyday ordinary moments. It's about what you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning, when you face challenges, when you make decisions, or when you look in the mirror. The way you speak to yourself can either build you up or tear you down, so why not choose words that empower you? And here's another thing to remember. Just as your inner dialogue shapes your reality, it also influences the way others see you. When you speak positively to yourself, you carry yourself differently. You walk with more confidence. You show up in the world with a belief in your worth and your abilities. People notice that. They pick up on your energy, your attitude, and your self-assurance, and the more you believe in yourself, the more others will believe in you too. The bottom line is this: your inner dialogue has the power to either create or destroy your potential. It's not about ignoring the negative thoughts or pretending they don't exist. It's about learning to challenge them, replace them, and ultimately shift the way you talk to yourself. You can rewrite the script. You can choose to speak to yourself with kindness, encouragement, and belief, and when you do, you'll begin to see the world around you change, because when you change how you see yourself, everything else shifts. To Chapter 4, Emotional Mastery, Turning Your Emotions into Allies. You look at yourself and you are trying to see not just your physical form, but the emotional landscape within you. It's easy to ignore our emotions, to dismiss them as something that simply happens, but what if you took a moment to pause and reflect on them? What if you acknowledged how much your emotions influence the way you move through life? Emotional mastery isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about learning to harness the power of your emotions, turning them into allies instead of letting them control you. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They're powerful and they come with all sorts of intensity. When we feel joy, we are lifted, and when we feel anger, we can feel like we're being dragged down by it. Sometimes emotions come on suddenly, like a wave crashing over us, leaving us no time to think or respond. Other times they simmer quietly under the surface, influencing our thoughts and behaviors without us even realizing it. But here's the thing, your emotions don't have to be your enemy. In fact, when you learn to control them, they can become a powerful tool in your journey of personal growth. The first step toward emotional mastery is recognizing that emotions aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we react to them that determines their impact. Anger, for example, often gets a bad rap, but it's an emotion that can be incredibly useful when channeled properly. Anger can signal when something is wrong or when you feel disrespected. The problem isn't the anger itself, but how you express it. If you lash out, if you let that anger take over your thoughts and actions, it can hurt you and others, but if you pause, take a deep breath and then decide how you want to respond, that anger can be transformed into a force for change. It can fuel action, motivate you to set boundaries, or push you to take a stand for something you believe in. This same principle applies to all emotions: fear, sadness, frustration. They're all part of the human experience and each one carries valuable information. Fear, for example, is often seen as something to avoid, but what if fear is simply a signal that you are about to do something challenging or outside your comfort zone? In that moment, you can choose to let fear paralyze you, or you can choose to use it as a sign that growth is on the other side. You see, emotional mastery is about shifting from being a passive victim of your emotions to being an active participant in how you respond to them. One way to start practicing emotional mastery is by becoming more aware of how you react in different situations. Pay attention to your emotional responses. When something goes wrong, do you immediately jump to frustration when someone disagrees with you? Do you feel defensive? Are there certain triggers that send you into a tailspin of negative emotions? The self-awareness is crucial because it helps you understand not just what emotions you are experiencing but why you are experiencing them. Often our emotions are tied to deeper beliefs or past experiences. Maybe you feel anxious because you are worried about failing, or maybe you get angry because you feel unappreciated. Understanding the root cause of your emotions gives you the power to address them more effectively. Once you've identified your emotional triggers, the next step is to create space between your feelings and your actions. This can be incredibly challenging, especially when emotions are running high, but the key to emotional mastery is in that space, the space between the emotion and your response. When you are feeling intense emotions, take a moment to pause, step back from the situation. Breathe, give yourself permission to feel, but also remind yourself that you have control over how you respond. It's in these moments of pause that your power lies, in those few seconds. You have the choice to react in a way that aligns with your values, your goals, and the person you want to become. This pause isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about choosing how to express them. For example, when you are angry, Instead of snapping or shouting, you might take a few deep breaths, ground yourself, and then express how you feel in a calm and constructive way. Instead of allowing your frustration to control your behavior, you take control and channel that energy into something productive, like problem solving or setting a boundary. Another critical aspect of emotional mastery is learning to respond instead of reacting. Reactions are automatic and often driven by our subconscious based on past experiences and conditioned responses. Responses, on the other hand, are intentional and mindful. When you respond to your emotions, you are making a conscious choice about how to handle them. This is a skill that can be developed over time. It takes practice and patience, but it's incredibly empowering to realize that you have to be at the mercy of your emotions. Part of mastering your emotions also involves understanding that you are not defined by them. Your emotions are fleeting. They come and go. One moment, you might feel elated. The next you could feel sad or frustrated, but none of these emotions define who you are. You are not. Your emotions and your emotions do not have to dictate your actions. By recognizing that emotions are temporary and by learning to navigate them, you create the freedom to choose your behavior regardless of what you are feeling in the moment. It's also helpful to practice emotional release. Holding on to negative emotions like anger, sadness, or resentment can create internal tension and stress. When you are able to let go of these emotions, you free yourself from their grip. Releasing emotions doesn't mean ignoring them or pretending they don't matter. It means acknowledging them, feeling them, and then letting them go. Whether it's through journaling, talking it out with someone you trust, or simply taking a walk to clear your mind. Emotional release helps you process and move forward. Emotional mastery also involves cultivating emotional intelligence. This is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions and the emotions of others. People with high emotional intelligence are able to empathize with others, communicate effectively, and navigate difficult situations. With grace, they don't let their emotions dictate their interactions. Instead, they use their emotions to build connections and create positive outcomes. Emotional intelligence is a skill that can be developed through self-regulation and empathy. As you work on mastering your emotions, it's important to remember that this is an ongoing process. You won't suddenly become perfect at it overnight, but every step you take to become more aware of your emotions, to respond instead of react, and to release negativity will bring you closer to emotional freedom, and as you gain control over your emotions, you'll find that you have greater clarity, resilience, and strength to face life's challenges. So the next time you are feeling overwhelmed or flooded with emotion, remember this: you don't have to be controlled by your feelings. You have the power to master them, to use them as tools for growth, and to navigate your life with greater ease and confidence. Emotional mastery is about reclaiming your power, taking for how you feel and learning how to use those feelings to propel you forward. When you do this, you'll unlock a level of self-mastery that will transform not only your emotional life, but every aspect of your journey. Chapter 5, Focus: the Power of Concentration. In a distracted world, we live in a world full of distractions. Every day we're bombarded with notifications, endless messages, and a constant stream of information that pulls our attention in a million different directions. Whether it's checking your phone every few minutes, switching between tasks, or trying to focus on something important while your mind drifts to everything else. Maintaining focus seems like an impossible task, yet the ability to focus is one of the most important skills you can develop if you want to achieve success and personal growth. It's the key to everything: productivity, creativity, relationships, and most importantly, the progress you make in life. Focus is not just about ignoring distractions, it's about tuning out the noise around you and zeroing in on what really matters. It's about channeling your energy into one task at a time, giving it your full attention and fully immersing yourself in the process.